quickly you are able to navigate on the website, move from one point to another. Is it responsive on your phone? You Things like that. That's what makes up the user experience. Can you find your way quickly? Can you access a particular flow quickly? Can you grab anything you are looking for quickly? In order to make the user experience interactive, some websites do comes with prompts and interaction. They comes with a kind of a virtual guide that is trying to guide you through. Next slide, please. So, without delaying further, let's look at the core front-end technologies. But before we look at the core front-end technologies, you need to understand one thing, that nowadays we have so many tools, so many technologies, everything combined into front-end. At a particular point in time, people might even argue that front-end is much more harder than back-end nowadays, but we'll not go into that. It's just for you to know that there are many ways you can build your website. There are many things that you can use. It all depends on you. It all depends on what you are okay with, what you can quickly grasp, what you can quickly adapt to. But at the core of it, or the foundational level, every framework, every tool out there makes use of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Without HTML, without CSS, without JavaScript, there's no front end. Irrespective of the tool you want to use, whether it's React, Angular, whatever, or whether you are not even using all those, maybe you are using a framework. So the HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, defines the structure of the website. Is responsible for all those tests that you see on the website. You're adding image, you use the image tags, or probably the font and things that you are writing. So the HTML is basically responsible for it. But take note that HTML itself is not a programming language, please. It's just like a markup language, like a writing language, if you want to put it that way. More like the way you are writing in your Microsoft Word with some formatting. I will not dive deep into technical terminologies for you because I want you guys to grasp this introduction very well. Then you have the CSS, which is more like cascading style sheet. So from that word styling, it simply means that anything that has to do with applying color to your website, you want to shift the image, you want to adjust things like the width, the height, or you want to modify the font, you want to make a text bigger, smaller. Your CSS takes care of all of those stuff. Like I used to tell people, I said you can liken this thing to a lady. Sorry for the ladies among us. You know, when a lady finish bathing in the morning, that's like the HTML. So when they apply the makeup, that's like the CSS. Without CSS, your website or whatever you are designing will not be beautiful. It will not be appealing. So CSS allows you to make your website appealing. It gives you that flexibility to style it the way you want. You want to use red, you want to use blue, or whatever design that you can imagine. And that's one of the beautiful things about front end. In whatever way you can imagine your website to be, you can bring it to life. The limitation, I'm trying to look for the right word to use now. The limitation is totally on you. It all depends on how far your imagination can go and stuff like that. So JavaScript, on the other hand, is a programming language. It allows you to add logic and functionalities to your website when you start dealing with the interactivity. Okay, user want to fill a form on the website. You want to, all those input field, you are collecting it, you are validating it, in the sense that you want to say, okay, on my website, users that are below 12 years old, you don't want them to fill your form. Or maybe when they click a button, it should raise an alert. So users click this button. Or when you are navigating from one page to another, you want to set things like timeout. These are common things that we see on website every day. If you are the type that visit websites very well, not let me not even say the type. Every day, all of us visit one website to another. You see those interactivity. You interact with every element on that website. JavaScript is responsible for that. That's the function of JavaScript. Although it goes deeper, it can also be used for backend, depending on how deep you go in the JavaScript. So it's a powerful language. It helps you to do a lot of things. But because this is introductory class, we will not be going deep into the practical. And I also want to create time for you guys to be able to ask your question. So next slide, please. So before we look at the front-end frameworks and library, you must understand one thing that, like I told you before, front-end is very wide. And before these frameworks and library, we've looked at the core technologies, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Before you start diving into framework and library, it's always advisable that you master those ones first, at least to a great extent, because all these framework and libraries, all of them are like offshoots. They are all based on the core technologies. So you don't just dive into frameworks without understanding the background, without having that foundational knowledge. And you must also know that apart from framework, there are design tools which I will explain. But let's look at the front end frameworks and library first. We have a whole lot of them. You are just seeing theory in this slide because these theory are the most popular one. They are the most widely used by every organization across the globe. React, Angular, Vue.js, we have Svelte, we have this other one. Is it Amber now? Yes, a whole lot of them. In fact, if you just go to Google and you type top 20 JavaScript frameworks, you will see them popping out one after the other. That's one of the problems we have in the JavaScript world. Too many frameworks. But what will make you stand out in your web development journey or front end development journey is your ability to grasp the fundamental, to understand the concept behind all these frameworks. Because all these frameworks have one thing in common. They are all based on JavaScript, although they have differences in the sense that React might be a little bit easy to learn, learning curve. They have communities, they have a lot of libraries. Angular is a bit more opinionated. They tend to force you to do things certain way, while React just give you that flexibility to do whatever you like, structure your file folders any way you want, and is more functional. But Angular is more like related to a bit of OOP, kind of. Then you have the Vue.js that is like sitting between the two of them. I like to call it their younger brother, but not like is a younger brother. It's a full-fledged framework on its own. And even the funny thing is that on top of this framework and libraries, you now have more frameworks and more libraries, which is why I'm emphasizing that you must try to grasp the fundamental. For example, on top of React, you have a framework we call Nest.js that is based off React. So React is based off JavaScript. Nest is based off React. Then you have, like, for example, Vue. You have Node.js, which is based on Vue. But once you're able to grasp the fundamental very well, picking any framework you want, learning it becomes very, very easy. So you will not be boxed in. You'll not be boxed in into a particular framework because one thing that will make you stand out is your flexibility, your ability to any framework you are picking up. Maybe working for a freelance, ability to quickly adapt to these frameworks is very, very important. The next slide, please. Before we go to building responsive and mobile friendly website, you must also know that the same way JavaScript has framework, the same way CSS has framework. When we are talking about CSS framework, we are talking about Bootstrap. So they make writing your CSS very easy. But at the same time, just like what I said with the JavaScript, you must grasp the core fundamental of CSS before you start saying you want to use Bootstrap, or you want to use Tailwind, or you want to use Material UI, or you want to use Ant Design. And one thing they helps you to do is that they help you to build your website very fast. By the time you pick Bootstrap, some of those classes, some of those CSS have been written beforehand. So it's just like you are like a kind of a plug and play, not fully plug and play. You are picking a style, you are just everything is looking good, especially very nice. Others too are very nice. It all depends on the one you are willing to go with. So they help you to build responsive and mobile friendly websites. Talking about front end, which they call mobile first approach. Before you start saying you want to build a website, things you must have in mind is how the website is going to look like, the audience you are building it for, how many devices is it going to run on, or phones, laptop, tablet, and depending on the purpose of the website, that will also determine the pictures that you'll be using on the website, the text that you'll be using on the website. If you are building a school website, for example, you can't be putting church picture there or putting organization picture there. So is that at the back of your mind before you even start that coding process, or before you even start looking at things, you must have like an idea that the website I want to build, these are the things it's going to contain. That will determine what you will look for in terms of pictures, in terms of the text, and stuff like that. Then, depending on your target audience, also, you now need to know that, okay, how is it going to look very responsive? It's not every website that you build that you have to make responsive. That's the honest truth. It all depends on where it is going to be used and what it is going to be used for. If it's just going to be used by maybe your internal company and the likes, or maybe it's an internal tool, if you are building a web application, you might not. But if it is other type of website, maybe school website, church website, educational website, organization, non-profit, and like that, you have to ensure that it is responsive and it is as simple as possible. Simple in the sense that there's something we call readability, there's something we call clarity. In terms of putting your colors together and everything, you must know that you are communicating with an audience. So they should be able to see what is written there clearly. They should be able to navigate very well, and everything should not be clumsy. If you look at the picture beside this responsive design, you will see the way it's there. Although it's very small, but you see that there are a lot of white spaces around it and it's looking kind of very neat and cool. So you must take all those things into consideration. Although nowadays, as a front end developer, your UI designer would have probably handled a lot of things. Then you convert from that front end, from that design into your code. So let's look at the next slide, please. So the bulk of everything I've been saying is also affect this, which is the user interface design and user experience. Now the thing is, one way or another, user experience and user interface design and front end, they are interwoven together. You can't really separate them because whatever is being designed is what you will convert into your code. And one thing you must strive at when you are doing that is what we call pixel perfect, meaning that if you are given a design, kind of, you must try to replicate that design to perfection as much as possible. The width, the height that you are given is what you must use. or something very, very close. Even if you are going to do adjustment, it should be minimal. So, and you don't, like I'm trying to say, you don't just model colors together and stuff like that, because you are catering to an audience. It's more like a show, more like an artwork, except that you are not designing an art, you are designing a website. But whatever you design, you are like the front, like you are what people see. So most of the time, the back end will not even bother. People will look at the website and be like, oh, this website is fine. Oh, this website is lovely, and this or that. Oh, I can do this and the likes on the website. You are the very first person that they will see. Then, like I told you, although that one is not in this slide, I will still work on a better slide for everyone. We have lots of tools apart from coding, because one question that is commonly asked is it necessary to code these days if you want to do front end? Yes, why coding is important, but there are a lot of things you can also do without coding as far as front end is concerned, depending on the website that you are trying to create. So we have a lot of tools out there that helps you to design your website quickly, that helps you to spin it up. Maybe you are designing for a business owner, or you are designing for maybe a client, or maybe you are depending on what you want to do. Example of those tools is Webflow. Webflow makes the work very easy. We have WordPress out there. We have another one. I'm trying to recollect the name now, but there are just so many. Yes, Flutter Flow. So all of these are like offshoots on coding. If you know that you are the type that is not probably attuned to coding and the like, doesn't mean that you cannot be a front end developer. I've seen a lot of people build websites with Webflow, WordPress. They make their money and their cash and they get out. And there are some things that if you want to build, you have to build it with coding. It all depends on the web application itself and what you are trying to achieve. So in this slide, you see that we have the user interface design, like I said, the information architecture, organizing your content, and navigation. Navigation is very important in any website because that's what we guide the users through. That's why on every website we always have a navigation bar. That's where you see those home, about us, service, contact us, and whatever you decide to put there. Then visual design, it should be visually appealing. Nobody wants to stay long on a website that is not appealing. And if it's not appealing, you just see your user jumped in and jumped out. That's the honest truth. I've seen website whereby I spend 5 minutes on and the next minute you see me getting out of it. So that's why you see some e-commerce, sometimes they might not sell well because it's not like the product that they are putting there is not good. It's the fact that the website themselves are not appealing. So quickly, let's look at front-end performance and optimization. This is a very deep topic on its own, but I will just summarize it for you. Front-end performance and optimization has to do with your website loading speed. How quickly does it load? Nobody wants a slow website. You don't want to open a website and like the technical glitches we are experiencing some minutes ago. I was trying to load that Zoom map and it was misbehaving. So the faster your website, the more people will want to use it. And how you do those things is by one, optimizing images. We have a lot of tools that you can use to optimize your image online, like reduce the size of the image. And it also depends on the image. We are still going to have another class anyway, so I will not say everything, but basically you want to use PNG and SVG most of the times. They are very small, they don't compromise quality, unlike JPEG. So you want to minimize HTTP request. Usually, most of the time, this would have been done for you, this combining CSS. So, for example, if you are loading external library, you want to use their minimized version. You don't want to use the larger version. Then you can cache your website in your content in the browser. Other things that you can do is to ensure that as much as possible you are not using too much external libraries when you are building your application. Things that you can write quickly in your JavaScript or that you can write quickly in your CSS. You don't want to be installing external libraries in it just because you want to do data or maybe you want to manipulate something. So by doing that, you'll be able to achieve, you can't achieve 100% performance and optimization actually, because performance and optimization has to do with a lot of things, and even your network might impact it at a point in time, and even the files that you are loading might also impact it. So, but at least you try to score high on your performance. We have what we call light score. That's Google light score. If you put your website on it, it can measure the performance for you. If you are getting 90 and above, trust me, you are very good to go. By the time you say that you are getting 100, I will say that maybe you've done some static things and the next. So, in conclusion, front end development is a rapidly evolving field with numerous opportunities. The opportunities are so many. There's nothing like saturation in this field. It all depends on you and how good you are. You can work anywhere. I won't say that you can work in a particular company or start mentioning companies for you, because there are many places you can work. Anywhere you find yourself. Nowadays, everybody wants to be online. Everybody needs a website. Every client needs one. Car washes, barbing salon. The world is evolving. But apart from that, it's also evolving rapidly. That's the front end development. New things are coming out. So you must always try to keep yourself up to date. You must try to keep yourself abreast of what is happening day in, day out. That's how you stay on top of your game. But as for the opportunities, they are numerous. I used to tell people that as far as I'm concerned, I can never be out of a job except if village people are following you or if God is not with you. But once you master these skills, there's nothing like there's no job for you. The job will always come. People will bring work to you. People will chase you with work. That's the honest truth. So I don't know. I will open the floor a bit now for questions. If we have questions, or if we create another session for the questions and answer, so that I can quickly take your questions. We provide answers. If you need more clarity on it, we'll quickly take them.
Yeah, so this session is unlimited. It's a paid session, so it's not going to end. So the question and answer can come.
All right, that's fantastic. That's really great. Do we have questions, or should I ask question?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have a question. As a front-end developer, do you need to have an idea about design as well, like UI UX design?
Okay. As a front end developer, is a nice to have skill. It is good and recommended you have an idea about design, not necessarily deep, but an idea about it. But it's not like compulsory, but it's good. It helps a lot, but it's not compulsory. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, okay. I'm actually a graphic designer. Yeah, I'm like a friend of mine referred me to the link. So I have interest in going into tech. Tech. What I mean by tech is, I mean worldwide in tech. Like getting like the question is here. can somebody have a knowledge of particular or more than one particular knowledge in tech, like cyber security and web development, and all this Python and the rest. I'm actually new in web development, but I'm basically a graphic designer and also a video editor, but not that well in video editing.
Okay, so if I get your question properly, you're asking if you can have more than one knowledge in different areas. Yeah, so to answer your question, you can have that knowledge, but I will advise you to focus. A friend of mine asked me that question some days ago. She was like she likes data science, and at the same time she's trying to do project management. I had to tell her that yes, you can do many things together, but it's always better you focus because tech is very broad and every area in tech is very lucrative. So the challenge that newbies normally have is the fact that they don't know which one to go into at a particular moment due to the media and due to society. This one is telling you this one is making money, that one is good, that one is good. But you have to find the one that you can adapt to, that you can learn quickly. You can't do everything together, to be honest. You have to just be focused and pick a feed. When you pick a feed and you keep going in that direction, trust me, you will make it. Whether it now depends on you which area you have interest in or which area you actually want to dive into. But I will never advise anybody to do many things together at once. Don't say you want to do cyber security, you want to do backend, you want to do front end, then you want to learn Python, then you want to do AI. You will just be roaming around the bush. Eventually, you become tired and you will not become very good. Let me give you a bit of background about myself so that you guys can know. When I started my tech, I started with networking. That's pure networking. Then from there, I did a bit of project management and the likes. But with time, I realized that I can't keep doing everything. I just focus in software engineering, and it has paid off, and it's still paying off. So it's not sometimes it's not like you can't learn other stuff easily because we have people that can easily grasp things quickly. You want to do cyber security, you see yourself grasping it. You want to do project management, you see yourself grasping it, but you must intentionally let go of some things and focus. That will help you a lot. So does that answer your question? Do we have any other question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please, yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.